If you're a pop culture junkie who loves TV, film, music, comedy, and other really important stuff, then you've come to the right place. Get ready and settle in for Classic Conversations, the best pop culture interviews in the world. That's right, we circled the globe so you don't have to. If you're ready to be the king of the water cooler, then you're ready for Classic Conversations with your host, Jeff Dwoskin.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for that amazing introduction. You get the show going each and every week, and this week was no exception. Welcome, everybody, to episode 320 of Classic Conversations. As always, I am your host, Jeff Dwoskin. Welcome to what's sure to be a super fantastic episode. Who do I have with me today? Rebecca Staab. That's right, none other than the original Sue Storm from Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. She is here to share a million stories from the making of The Fantastic Four. You know I love Roger Corman's The Fantastic Four. I had Alex Hyde-White, Mr. Fantastic, the original Mr. Fantastic himself, on episode 260. R.I.P. Roger Corman. He made such a huge impact to the world of movies. So many great people owe their start to him. Gail Ann Hurd was here, episode 244. She got her start with Roger Corman. We talk all about Roger Corman in that episode. She actually, in that episode, goes, "Did you know Roger Corman made a Fantastic Four movie?" And I was like, "Of course I do, Gail. I love it. It's on my shelf." Anyway, all this greatness with Rebecca Staab is coming up in just a few seconds. And in these few seconds, episode 319, Bob Eckstein returns. He has written an amazing book on museums. You need to check it out. Check out the episode. Support your local bookstore. Buy Bob's book. But right now, get ready for Rebecca Staab. You may love her from the Hallmark Christmas movies. You may love her from her time on Superman and Lois, or her episode of The Night Agent, or The Wonder Years, or Cheers, or The Drew Carey Show. So much greatness coming up right now. All right, everyone, I'm excited to introduce my next guest. Loved her on Seinfeld, Guiding Light, Port Charles, a million other credits, and of course, the original Sue Storm in Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. Welcome to the show, Rebecca Staab.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on the show. You're on my wall. I have a wall of autographs. When I talked to Alex, I specifically said, Alex Hyde-White, I said, I need Mr. Fantastic. And he sent me one, and it's you and him. And so I have his autograph on it. So one day, if we meet in person, I'll have you also sign that. But alas, you're still on the wall.
Well, gosh.
There you go.
That's nice to know. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a big fan of the Fantastic Four. I want to get to it because there's there's more to the story than just that. I do want to also just brag that I have the VHS copy of the Fantastic Four that sits on my shelf. I've had it forever. I don't remember what Comic-Con I got it at, but there you are. So you're not in the creepy way. You're all over my office.
Can you even watch the VHS?
I probably watched it way back when. I don't even think I can watch DVDs anymore. Maybe I have a Blu-ray player I could pop something into. But it's funny how suddenly all the old medium can't even use it anymore.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I'd seen it, same thing on VHS, like way back when there was a DVD. I think I'd only watched it on my computer. Gosh, what year was it? 2000, you're going to try to guess, 5, 6, when was it? There was a big comic convention in St. Louis called Contamination. They actually they were going to screen the movie at theater. And then kind of at the last minute, we're like, you know, we didn't want any legal ramifications. And so they just screened it in one of the ballrooms at the hotel. But, you know, on a huge screen with incredible sound. And the most important feature that I never thought of until we had it was an audience, because I'd only ever watched it by, you know, myself or with my husband, or my brother's kids were here one time, but I don't think I even watched it with them. I think they watched it. So, I mean, I pretty much always seen it by myself. So to see it on a big screen and with really great sound, wow. But most importantly, to watch that movie with people was 1,000% different experience, you know, because, I mean, everybody just got so into it. And it was funnier than I remember it being, you know, because some of the stuff that is either like super serious in it is kind of funny, or stuff that's just we thought, this is cheesy. Don't look at that. Oh my God, how his arm stretches is so crazy. But with a group full of people, it was funny. So it was really, exhilarating, and people are cheering and laughing. And yeah, that audience experience made it a completely different film. If you ever get to see it live with a group of people, that's really the best way to watch it.
I think it has that cult status now. So it's, like maybe like watching like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff like that. Like people have such a strong affinity for the fact that they aren't supposed to be watching it because it's not supposed to, quote unquote, exist in the public domain. And the fact that it's not a bad movie, it's an enjoyable movie. It's a fun, Fantastic Four movie. If you watch it, you're like, oh, that was fun. That's a good thing. I could imagine in the group setting, it would be super fun. It must have been great for you.
Oh, good. That was neat. There's a guy on Twitter, Xavier Mendoza, and he did kind of, I would say, like a mini documentary, for lack of a better word, because it wasn't just like a video. I thought it was going to be kind of short, and kept watching and watching and watching. Oh my God, he probably did the most, or one of the most in-depth analysis of the movie, but there were so many clips of the movie in his little documentary. And, again, like I hadn't seen the movie for so long that I was watching this documentary. I was like, oh, I remember that. And, oh, that's just, and I was like watching all the scenes again in this little documentary that he did. Yeah, I urge everybody, if they want to see it, it's really good because he talks about, it's funny, like this guy all on his own. Maybe he just read interviews and stuff too, but he talked about so much of the things that we all talk about and that we all feel, how it was really a buddy movie, that it was really the only Fantastic Four, because since it starts when, we're regular people becoming the superheroes, that we're only superheroes at the end. And so even though, you get to play a superhero, the majority of it is kind of coming to terms with being a superhero. And that was one of the reasons that we had really hoped that there would be a sequel to ours that we could be in, because it's like, yay, now we can really go out and really play the superheroes. But I think that's what made ours so nice, was the real camaraderie and the collaboration that you see between the four of us. And, we were close as friends anyway. Like, we got really close really quickly. And I don't know if Alex had talked about this, but what I always talk about, the casting really was so spot on. It wasn't even funny how we all were so much like our characters in real life. I was always kind of the, cheerleader, let's be positive, keep everybody together, a little bit of a mother hen, just loved everybody and wanted everything to always be happy and good. And Alex, from day one, was like, okay, team, like he was really like the leader. Now this is this and this is that, and let's all go do that. And, just as people and as we were shooting and stuff, Alex just really was the leader of our gang. Jay, who was Johnny Storm, was actually my neighbor. What are the odds of that in Los Angeles, that he literally lived 2 blocks away from me? I would just pick him up, early every morning, and we'd drive down to Venice. So, we'd be in the car together a good 40 minutes every day, coming and going to work. And it really, honest to God, just felt like brother and sister, picking up my little brother. And he and I got really close because, we had 40 minutes each way every day that we shot, that we, just talked about absolutely everything. And he, at the time, looked so much like my real life little brother that to me, it's like, why don't he have to act? To me, he was like instantly my little brother. And he was just a hoot. Like, he was always like so funny and full of energy and laughing and joking around. Like, he was just so vibrant, as Johnny. And then Michael Bailey Smith is the sweetest, the epitome of a gentle giant. He's tall and big and strong, but just had like the softest, most loving voice and these eyes that just look right into your soul. He had the least experience as an actor of all of us. And so he was so kind of like modest and generous. God, he's just like this big old bear that you just want to, wrap up in his arms. And like, he was the sweetest man. Like, he was so Ben Grimm. Then Joseph Culp as, Doom, he's so in real life. Like, he's very Shakespearean to begin with. His speech is so theatrical just in real life. And things that he would do, like in between scenes, because we didn't have dressing rooms or anything. There was basically one, I don't know, room. I can't call it a green room. I can't call it a lounge. It was like a room with 4 folding chairs in it, 5 folding chairs, 6 folding chairs, however many of us were working that day. Literally, that's all that was in there. But he was so mysterious and kind of sensual. And so it was it was neat, like, to know Joseph in real life, because then once he was in the Doom suit and had the mask on, it was kind of easier for us, since we knew him and what he looked like out of the costume, to really know and believe who Doom was, because it's almost like as if we could see through the mask. It's almost too bad that his performance is behind a mask, because he was so brilliant. The 5 of us, and it really was kind of Fantastic 5, because, Joseph was always there too. We just have stayed friends. For everything that I've worked on in 40 years of being in the business, there's not one project that I'm still friends with everybody. But it was a real blessing in disguise when the movie got sidelined, because it actually became bigger than, I think if it, had been released, it would have been big and definitely have the fan base and stuff. But I think it just would have kind of come and gone, just like everything does. It's a big deal, and then you're on to the next big deal. But the fact that it was always percolating, there was always buzz about it. There was always intrigue about it. There was always, oh, I got a copy, or, oh, it just stayed alive. It just kind of rumbled under the surface all the time. So anytime there was, a comic convention, or, just kind of like autograph shows that we would go to together, it was so great for us to be together as a group. When the fans would even see us together in real life, they're just like, it's just like the movie. Like, you guys are like, just like we thought you would be. It's like, yeah, we are. And Ole, the director, is just, I just love that man. You talk about the captain of a ship that just kept us, sailing in a straight line through stormy waters, as we were trying to shoot that thing with no time and no money right over, Christmas and New Year's. And he too, so anytime any of us are all together, it really is like family. And if somebody can't be there, then you really miss them. Like at some of the events, like Michael was living in Texas, and so sometimes there would be something, and so geographically it was just impossible for him to be there. And you'd be like you really miss him. It's not just like, well, it's whoever's here. It was like there really was a little spirit that was, oh, we're missing a piece of our team, piece of our puzzle. And so I think all of that really goes into how the film just worked. And we were so, the comic book fans knew the Fantastic Four better than we did.
Right.
And so we really knew it was our job to give them what they were expecting, constantly kind of checking on things and the accuracy, because, you don't want to be, disingenuous to the people that we knew it would really matter to. And so it really was like the comic book fans, like the audience that was going to be seeing the film, was part of the film, because they were always there, like in our minds, how this should be portrayed, or how this would be received. And again, I think that's rare for a production. You usually put together a production like to show, and, we'll do it and you'll look at it. And it really felt collaborative with the fans, because we had to really be loyal to them. That really showed. And so in this one little documentary that Xavier Mendoza has on Twitter, he brings all of that out, and he really got it just from watching the movie. He'd never talked to any of us. None of us knew who he was until, a guy on Facebook actually sent me the link. And I was like, this is the best little documentary, because he was spot on about so many things. And sometimes that happens in a production when there's no time and no money. All you have is each other. And, you really work as a team. And the only sad thing for me is I wish it hadn't been so long ago, because already so many memories have faded, like little tiny details, the behind the scenes. What about this? What about that? It's like, I wish I had remembered more, because at the time I wasn't paying attention to remember. I was paying attention because, I was working and we were doing this thing. So I was in the moment. But in retrospect, I wish I would have been more of a third person at times, watching and taking note to remember things, because I never knew it was going to be so important to remember so much. about this. And, the funny thing is we started in December of 1992. And that was right when kind of home video machines were, like a manageable size. People just had them. And so I got myself one, as an early Christmas present, so it's like, oh, I'll take it on set. So I shot so much behind the scenes stuff. Normally I would have my camera and take like a few pictures. I never really took like a lot because it's not like these days where you take 1,000 pictures. But I would have normally had a bunch of snapshots. But since I had the video camera, I didn't take any snapshots. And I wish I would have, because here's the thing. That video is still stored away like in Indiana Jones storage. I moved from this one house of mine in 2006, and they were, like the little teeny tiny little video like cassettes that fit inside camera. And then you have to put that little video cassette like into a bigger cassette, kind of a sleeve thing, in order to watch it. But they're packed away because I didn't need them then. And when we moved, it was, it had been a big corporate move that my boyfriend, his company moved us. And so they went like into this long-term storage where it's packed in boxes, packed inside of a crate, way in the back of some storage thing where you've got to pay them to get a forklift to go back and get your crate to bring it out to open up. And I don't even know what the videos are in, like some box somewhere, but I don't know what. And I haven't had time or the resources like to really go and get all of this stuff out of storage to find those videotapes. Because when they were doing that documentary Doomed, Marty, the producer, was like, I'll pay what it takes, like to get into your storage and get those tapes out. And I couldn't find them, but I know they're there. And so it's like, if they ever do a release of this, you go, I am going to have to like buckle down, because I've got like 5 of these huge, like room size crate things like to go through. But that is going to be quite a treasure because it's video, as long as, there's an editor somewhere who can, we'd have to digitize it, I guess. Because, like before we were talking about CDs, and it's like, well, you can't even watch a CD anymore, a DVD. Secret, magical, wonderful time capsule video exists.
Sounds like we need to get Geraldo Rivera and we do an entire documentary, like The Mystery of Al Capone's Vault, except this is finding the secrets behind Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Not so much, because like behind the scenes stuff is always so interesting to me. And the behind the scenes of that film, because people have like the film, but to have like the actual documentarian footage, that's a word, of the conditions and the situation, at the time. And I've got to get in there and find that, because that's worth it's just valuable to people that are interested in that, because I think it'd be just as interesting as the film.
Sorry to interrupt. Have to take a quick break. Give Rebecca a second to go through all her stuff and try and find that footage. Do you want to take a second to thank you for all your support of the sponsors? When you support the sponsors, you're supporting us here at Classic Conversations, and that's how we keep the lights on. And now back to my conversation with Rebecca Staab. I watched some of the documentary that you're talking about. I also, way back, watched Doomed. I think Doomed came up on my Fire Stick. It recommended it. And so I watched it. I think I knew that the Roger Corman movie hadn't been released and that it existed, but watching Doomed kind of filled in a lot of those blanks in terms of how you guys all felt and were part of that. It's interesting what you were talking about earlier with how the movie inadvertently made you a real team moving forward. And it created a bond that most movies probably don't create with the full actors, because it was almost, is it fair to say it was a mini trauma as well, going through the ups and downs of it? Yeah, I mean, it's really, the whole story is so fascinating.
I know.
It's so interesting now because the Fantastic Four in the MCU is becoming finally important in the MCU. So I think people are talking about this even more now.
Yeah, because it comes up, every time there's one, this kind of percolates to the surface. And, for the right reasons, people still really like our original one, because nobody's been able to duplicate the real spirit of it, even though they have what we never had. They have all the special effects, they had all the money, they had all the cool suits, but nobody's ever been able to do what we did. It's a good family movie. I think it's good for even people that aren't into all the superhero, universe and that all kind of stuff, because most of those movies I really only go to if, like my brother's kids are in town or something, that I'm not really big on those kinds of movies. Or if I'm on a plane and they go, oh, I'll watch Spider-Man. This movie is kind of in a different genre. It's more like just more of a throwback. And what I sort of heard reading between the lines with this new one, what they're going to do is, I think it's set like in the 60s is one of the rumors that, and our film looks like that because being true to the comic book, and then that's, when the original issues were, there is a timeless feel to it. Like it feels retro without really being intentional. That you're just kind of, it's more like a time period immersive because, there's no reference like to any time period at all. I don't even know if there's like a car or two in it, maybe somewhere. I guess there's cars in it now that I think back. So they're not like 60s cars. They were cars from 1992. But there is definitely a retro feel that was organic, that it wasn't dressed up to look like the 60s. I'll be curious to see this new one and see, like, if it's set in the 60s, I think that would be cool.
For as shunned as your version is, it is the one that probably the most fun. None of the other ones really hit it out of the ballpark. And like you said, they had the bazillions of dollars to do what they needed to do. But that just shows you that the bazillions of dollars wasn't what was missing from those movies.
Yeah, it's just so funny because at the time, and we knew it was low budget. Like it wasn't like we didn't have any false impressions that, it's going to look fabulous. Like we knew some stuff they would have to fix in post, but even the sets, like they were left over from whatever movie they just wrapped and kind of rearranged a few things to make it look like what it was supposed to be in our movie, that they didn't even build sets. We shot a couple of things on location. Well, that was the thing too. There was a scene like after we crash and we're all like in our spacesuits and sitting around a campfire. And we went out, I don't even remember where, to shoot that one whole day and night, because some of it's day and then some of it's night. When it got dark and we're literally just sitting around the campfire, between takes and stuff. I mean, Alex is just like, this is what we played as kids. It's like, how incredible that like, this is our life. This is our job. We're out here in the middle of the desert and whatever, like the crew was off somewhere. Like it was literally just the four of us in spacesuits, with little smudgy stuff on our face, sitting around a fire. And it was such a real moment. Well, ours. I mean, I think it really plays. I mean, so much of the moments between the characters were just so real for us anyway, and then when we finally, whoever shows up, the government or whatever, like these big trucks, the excitement and the jubilation, it's just palpable because, you go, God, we just get to play. We get to wear spacesuits and shoot outside at night around a campfire and be superheroes. You just go, every day was just playing. Yeah, when you talk about the emotion, because there were so many moments that still, like, that's one that really chokes me up. Or there's like a scene in the movie when we've all changed back. Like, okay, now we know we have these powers. And the three of us, we don't change. Like Ben turns into the Thing. And then he's kind of out on his own trying to make sense of his life and this, being a body of rock. And then there's a scene where he comes back to our, whatever it is, our science space room that we all live and work in. And he comes back. And it's that scene where he just comes in the door and just being Sue, like I just ran to him and like jumped up and like hugged him. And, it's like I still get goosebumps even talking about that scene or get like a little choked up because it really was, we've got the band back, we got the team back, Ben's back. And now we really are the Fantastic Four. And it was just, so much of it was, I think because we got to play and we got to play these people being superheroes.
When you were making the Fantastic Four, there was a natural bond even before you knew ultimately what was going to happen.
Yeah.
At what point did you find out the shenanigans going on where this movie isn't going to be released? The promotion's kind of stopping because they did stuff. I mean, there were magazines that covered it during production. Yeah. So it's not like it was done in secret and then shelved.
Much of it was, they did all the post-production. Like, it'd be different if all he had to do was get it shot and get it in the can. And then if they would have shelved it, like, thank God, in retrospect, nobody stopped Oli. Like nobody stopped the director. And so he went on, with getting it scored, and the guys that did the music ended up putting in, I forget, like how many thousands of their own money to hire an orchestra. And they paid somebody like to do some like special effects with Johnny, some kind of animation. It was so wild. If that was the point, was just to be in production so that he could hold on to the right so that it could be shelved, why finish it? Like, why let everybody else? It really was quite a blessing that they were sort of hands off until it really was done. And then we had the final product, which is what is still around. Because we went and we did Comic-Con in San Diego. Well, it was nowhere what it is now. Like, it was just a regular kind of, sit at a table and sign autographs. And I mean, we just gave pictures away. Like, we didn't make any money. I mean, we had printed up a ton of pictures and we're just signing them and giving away the pictures and taking pictures with people because Comic-Cons weren't then what they are now, and just gave everything away. But again, it was for the fans and they were so excited. And then we went to Florida and we did another one that I think Alex and Michael had, set up and arranged, and they flew us there. And so there was like, okay, now it's coming out, and they had it set to come out at the, what's that big mall that's in Minneapolis? The
Mall of America.
Like the biggest
Mall of America.
Mall of America. Yeah, I'm like, Mall of the World. Because that's where there was supposed to be the premiere. And so, we were making plans to go to be there. And so it was shortly before that, which something in my head is feeling like that was August of 94. Can't remember exactly, but I don't know. There's something in my head that's telling me it was kind of August. I could be wrong. It could have been April. I don't know. It was relatively shortly before it was supposed to be actually released because they even had a trailer. Like trailers were showing in the movie theaters, along with other films. It was as real could have been. And then when we found out, see, again, this is where my memory is sketchy. I don't remember how much they told us at the time. I guess they told us then that he bought it back for $1 million and basically shelved it because he had to be in production with our film. His rights were expiring. It was New Constantine, this production company. They had the rights to Fantastic Four, but they were expiring, I think, at like the end of 92. And the only way to renew the rights is a film had to be in production. But he had wanted to make a big $50 million production, and he wanted Chris Columbus to direct it. By the time it was the end of the year, he didn't have any of that in place, and he was going to lose the rights. He went to Roger Corman. It's like, hey, I'll give you $1 million if you can bang this movie out. Corman's like, yeah, sure, great, let's do it. And so everybody was full on in. I don't think that Roger even knew at the time. It was just, hey, I need to make this movie really fast. Until it was supposed to be released, he didn't want it to be released because then it would, muddy the water for the new $50 million one that was going to come out whenever he had money. And I'll never forget the day that I found, because it was like, is that ever really going to happen? And I'll never forget, I was living down I was down in San Diego. And I was like literally like pulling into the gas station, like to get gas, and we just had the radio on. And they're like, oh, hey, after this commercial, we've got a big announcement to make about Marvel's Fantastic Four. And I'm like, what? Because this was, I forget when that one went into production, but it was, 2003 maybe. And so I literally pulled over, wait for like the radio commercial to be done. And that's when they announced that, they're going to finally make the Fantastic Four and, Michael Chiklis and Jessica Alba. And I just like sat there on the side of the road in my car. It's like, oh my God, like it was true. It was real. That's really what he did. He got the money together, and that was the next one. That was the reason that we had been shelved. And here's just a small tidbit. It was funny. For a while, I lived on the beach in Malibu for a while. And Michael Chiklis was actually my neighbor. His family had rented a house for, they were there like 6 months or something, and got to be friends with his wife. And then he comes out and I'm like, hi, because I didn't know it was him that was living there. And I'm like, you don't know me? But I'm like, I was the first Sue Storm. And he was hilarious. Like, he was so excited about it. He was so nice. So every time he ever saw me, he would just call me Sue. And
awesome.
Even like we're still friends on Facebook. And sometimes if he ever like would say, I would write something, comment on something with his daughters or something. And he'd be like, thanks, Sue. And the other small world thing is I was shooting Nip Tuck, and I was doing scenes with Julian kind of getting like later in the day, and it's like, well, let's get all of his coverage because he's got to catch a flight. He's got to go up to Vancouver. And I'm like, oh, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm shooting a movie. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, what are you shooting? And he's like, Fantastic Four. I was like,
yeah, he was Dr. Doom.
like, who are you? Like, I'm Dr. Doom. I'm like, okay, you don't know this, but I was the original Sue Storm. And so it's funny, our episode of Nip Tuck, I'm like having sex on his desk. And I'm like, oh my God, like if anybody really knows, the fans that know, it's like, oh my God, it's like Sue Storm is having sex with Dr. Doom. Probably an episode somewhere.
That's great.
That was pretty funny too, that it's like, Michael I didn't work with, but I knew. And then it was funny that I actually worked with Julian. We'll see who's next. We'll see who I would love. I mean, every time they do a new one, I'm like, oh, come on, put us in it somewhere, somehow, like even without mention, again, just for the fans that know. You go, just give me a role. And it doesn't have to be, I don't have to play Sue Storm's mom now or something, just any role, because then the people that know, that see the movie, they're like, oh my God, that's Rebecca. She was the first. I don't know. My manager knows the casting director for this new Fantastic Four, but, it's kind of not up to them. It's producers, and it's, they really still want to sort of keep it buried rather than acknowledge. But I mean, I'm really the only one out of all of us that's still working full time. It would be nice if something came up. If there'd be a part in this new one, that would be really cool. I would love to do that.
You think with the multiverse stuff now, they would love that. They're pulling in from all the different movies now.
It would be easy. And, it's not like, because since ours was never released, it's not like, oh, they're going to put Jessica Alba in, one of the new ones. Like, that doesn't work just because she was in. Well, unless there's, I don't know, some convention of Sue's, who knows? But since ours never really came out, I think it'd be really easy to plug us in, that we're just various characters. So that's my wish list for today.
Well, I think that would be amazing. When you do work, like, and you're doing all that stuff, are people aware of the movie? Because it's an infamous level now, right? I mean,
I don't know if people really do, because they don't, where it was always fun is when I would go on auditions, like back in the olden days, when like the director, you would actually be in the room, and, they would have your picture and resume right in front of them. And so as they're reading down my resume, probably 8 out of 10 times, any director would go, oh my God. Oh my God, yeah, I saw you in that. And there is a director up in Vancouver that, with one of the last posts that I did, he's like, he was doing some Corman movie at the time, like back in 92 or 93. And he wrote to me and he said, I was working at Corman at the time, and I can't tell you how many times, like, I watched that. I don't know, he was around when they were, I don't know, editing or posting or something like that. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that you knew that was me. And he's like, yeah, I always knew that was you. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? So I think, kind of in everyday life when I'm working, unless it's in front of somebody, I don't think that they really know, which is funny because I've been working on Superman and Lois. And so, then I'm jumped from Marvel to DC. So it's kind of funny, the juxtaposition, because in Superman and Lois, I'm the antithesis of Sue Storm, that I'm very, very, very evil, that I play Lex Luthor's right-hand woman. So I kind of, assist him with all of his dirty work.
Right. That's probably more fun, right? To be bad.
Yeah, because it's always fun to be evil, but it was very fun to be Sue. That's the thing, too. Like, at the time, I really looked like Sue looked in the comic books, just, the length of my hair and how I had, the makeup girl do my makeup. So it was, kind of more retro, I did like the heavy eyeliner, so it was just kind of 60s and like the red lipstick and stuff. So I think as Sue, like if we would have had like a real team and, real costumes and, hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff, I think just by luck of the draw, I looked so much like Sue, as opposed to a couple of the later gals who are fine actresses and, enjoy them very much and their work, but just kind of genetically, I think looked the most like Sue of anybody so far at the time.
You were comic book Sue, for sure.
Well, I remember even when I got the audition, I wasn't that familiar with the comic book. So, and again, it was like 92. There was no internet or anything. You just couldn't look it up. Went down to Hollywood, went to a comic book store, grabbed a couple of the comics and opened it. And I was like, oh my God. Oh, I look like her. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. When I went on my audition, I just wore like black leggings, like really tight black leggings, and just a tight black turtleneck, just kind of a cat suit. So that you go, well, this character is going to have to be in her little Fantastic Four latex lycra suit, not latex lycra. So I remember too, then when I walked out of the audition, Oli, the director, he said, thanks for dressing the part. I always wonder from them, like, when did they know? Like, was it during our audition that they're like, that's the one? Or was it literally, you have the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, pictures in front of you and you've got to kind of decide between the group. I should ask Oli that next time. I guess I've never asked him that.
Don't you feel that way with everything you do?
Yeah, you always wonder, like when they watch your audition, they're just like, that's it. That's the girl. Hire her. We're done. Or it's like, how many times do they have to whittle it down until you're the one that ends up on top of the pile? Strange process. I don't know. But this new one, I have a feeling it'll be good. I think because of Vanessa Kirby, again, what I read, now I don't know if this is true or not, but that they're making this one, that Sue is really, it's really Sue's story, that she's the featured character in this new one. And Vanessa Kirby is just brilliant. I mean, she's such an unbelievably talented actress. Unless they go off on some wild thing that has nothing to do with the comic book, I don't see how this one can't be good, because I think maybe they've learned from the other ones that didn't work.
4th time's the charm.
I know, but yeah, the fourth Fantastic Four.
Do you guys ever get together for Comic-Cons nowadays? Like still, like the group?
No, not, it's so, God, I'm trying to think when I was in San Diego. No, not as a group. We should now. Maybe we should now this year. Good question.
It's like, it's the 30th, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually we should. The last time we were all together was when they screened Doom, because they actually screened it at the theater here in LA. And so all of us were there for that. And Roger Corman came. He was there too for the Doom. That was the last time I think that all of us were together. But yeah, because we've kind of done them either separate, like, some like it'll be me and Joseph and Alex, or then it would be, we were all together in St. Louis for that one. It's more fun when we're all together. Because there's been times where I've just done like the Burbank show here, and maybe it was just me and Alex, or there was somewhere that I've done with just Joseph and I. Yeah, but I think, maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should all do that since it's the 30th. I don't know what the deadline is for getting in, but for as big as it, Comic-Con has become, everybody's all spread out now. Joseph lives in France. Alex is now down in Florida. Michael, I think, is in, I don't know if he's still in Texas or he might be in Arkansas. I'm still in LA. Jay's actually a pastor of a church, and he was up in Northern California, but I think they moved back, that they're just kind of just north of LA somewhere. Like he's in the vicinity, and Oli is in New Orleans. Really, Jay and I are the only two that are here. And then, I'm in Vancouver half the time. So we're all like at all 4 corners and France. But that'd be really fun.
When you were on set, Stan Lee swing by? Did you get to meet him? Roger Corman, was he actually there at any time?
Yeah, they were. I'm just, I don't remember. Because I was like, those guys talked about it in Doom, that those guys remember. So I know that he was there, and I know that we met him. But it's gone from my brain, unfortunately.
Got it. Well, you didn't. It's funny because when you were talking earlier about how you didn't remember, it's like you didn't know you were like living something that would live in infamy. So it wasn't like, you're like, this is the first of 3 sequels or whatever, right? It was like you weren't thinking this is getting shelved and I'm going to be talking about the story of it for decades.
Time you go, you couldn't even picture yourself 30 years from now. But she was like, 30 years, oh my God, I'm going to be old by then, Plus, our schedule was really grueling because we shot it so fast that just seemed like we were always wrapped up in work. Like there wasn't a lot of like downtime or hanging around time or chit-chatting that. Yeah, and so even when he was there, I'm sure, my head was half paying attention, but I was obviously paying attention to whatever scene I had coming up or something. Yeah, I wish I remembered more. That's why I've got to go back and find that.
Got to get the footage.
Got to get the footage because I found a folder that, I gave to Marty when they were doing Doom. I had the call sheet and I had, I don't know, like something I think, did I even have like the original sides from the audition? I still had some stuff, but I wonder if there's more stuff as well, packed away with the video footage.
That is your to-do list after this. All right, so you're rocking Superman and Lois. It's a bummer that they're canceling that show.
I know. Like, why? It's such a popular show. You know, it's popular around the world. They needed to do more episodes to go into syndication because you need, like, I think it's 100 episodes in order to syndicate a series. I don't know. Maybe that's all changed. Maybe that was just the olden days and they can syndicate. But yeah, there's only 3 seasons. It is such a good show. When it first aired 3 years ago, I started watching because one of my friends was playing Superman's mom. And so I was like, oh, I'll watch. You know, so I was just watching to support my friend. And that first episode, I'm like, this is really good. You know, I was expecting it to be, you know, superhero kind of corny, you know, because I was like, the scripts were so good. The actors were so good. The storylines were so good. And so I started, so I've been watching that like for the first 2 seasons. And then it was funny that, oh, you know, now you get to be on it. We were so excited. So I was on the season finale of season 3. Then when we found out that it was going to get picked up for season 4, I knew my character was coming back. But that's when, because Discovery Channel bought the CW. And so that's why they kind of canceled them. We're changing everything. And they're like, come on, you've got to leave this one show because it was really popular. But it was also the most expensive show on the CW because, you know, they have incredible special effects like they do. I mean, a lot of the special effects are film quality. Like it's not stuff that you see on TV. Yeah. So then they only picked it up for 10 episodes and cut the budget in half. Again, like how do you do a special effects heavy show and just go, well, maintain the quality, but now we cut the budget in half. And so unfortunately, when they cut the budget in half, 7 of the contracted cast members were taken off contract. So they I think they'd had 12 actors on contract and they cut 7 of them. So it was like, oh my God. So now with the 10 episodes that are left, you know, they want to kind of honor all of the storylines that have been going on and the characters that have been going on, but, you know, wrap it up too. And it's hard. You can't wrap up everything in 10 episodes. The good thing about it is the episodes are really dense. I mean, there's just boom, 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 you know, there's like so much stuff going on. It's really good. And it's a really incredible team working on that show. Every department is just absolutely top notch. Yeah, it's a real shame because I could stay on that show forever. I love working on that show.
Weren't you like, a cut budget on a superhero show? I'm your girl. I know this story. I got you. We made an entire Fantastic Four for $1 million. You got more than that. We could do wonders. Hang on.
Exactly.
Sorry to take a quick break. But we're back with Rebecca Staab.
So that's been fun. And I was working on, I don't know if you've seen The Night Agent, but the first season is on Netflix. And it was the most watched Netflix series, I think, to date of all of the Netflix series, or in the top 5.
Huge.
It was number 1, like for the longest time. That series is so stinking good. I'm in episode 5. I play Robert Patrick's wife. And then it was funny. I ran into him because, well, I don't want to give anything away. Let me see. How do I tell this story without giving something away if somebody hasn't seen Night Agent? Because if you haven't seen it, it's a brilliant series. And I'm not just saying that because I was on it. We started watching it. And my husband's not a big binger. Like, I don't know. It's too late. I got to go to bed. Then after one episode, it's like, we have to watch the next one. We have to watch the next one. I mean, it is so suspenseful. And you really care. It's a really great series. I play Robert Patrick's wife, but in the episode that I'm in, I don't interact with them. During the SAG strike, you know, I just live right up the street from like Universal and Warner Brothers. So a friend of mine, you know, was like, oh, we're going to go down and, you know, do the, you know, walk the sidewalks with the strike. So I go and I'm under the tent, like to sign in. And I turn and I look and it's Robert Patrick. And I'm like, hi. I'm like, you don't know me? I'm like, but I'm your wife. He's like, oh my God. He's like, you were so good. He goes, I have to tell you, I watched that episode over and over and over because I was so proud that you were my wife. And he said, I was like, oh my God, like that was such a compliment, you know, coming from him. And then he was the sweetest guy. And so we walked together, you know, we were probably there like for an hour and a half. And he walked the whole time with his arm around me. And anybody, you know, everybody knew who he was. And everybody that, you know, stopped to talk to him He's like, oh, have you met Rebecca? She's my wife on The Night Agent and really brilliant actress. And he was just so kind. He literally like introduced me to absolutely everyone. We, walked together until like the very end, hugged me goodbye.
That is really cool, though. It's also cool when you say someone like Robert Patrick is so nice because, you have it in your head. He's a murderous robot. He was, it's like,
Yeah.
he was a jerk on Reacher. Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. So it's like, sometimes that's what you have in your head.
Funny, yeah, when we like meet each other, and I'm not going to tell any bad tales, but it is funny when you meet the people who you think are going to be wonderful and nice, and then they're not. It goes both ways, with the people that you're like, that you're just used to being bad guys. And then there's people who you just thought would be like the super nicest person. And then they're really not. And that's like disappointing. That was the fun thing with the strike. I have to say, like walking the picket line it was so much fun because you were just constantly running into either people that personally, or just actors that you don't run into on set. I saw Rufus Sewell. And oh my God, like if there's like a crush I've ever had, it's Rufus Sewell. Like I saw him in a movie at the Cannes Film Festival in 1997. And I remember watching this film going, oh my God, who is that? Oh my God. I've just been in love with him ever since then. I saw him on the picket line and you're just like, hi, you don't know me. And so we walked with him like the whole time and same thing, gave me a great big hug. And God, so many people like Noah Wiley, Bryan Cranston. I mean, it's just like every time you turned around, Dietrich Bader and Martha Plimpton, and you're just like, hi. Yeah, I kind of made like some new friends on the picket line. That'll be fun if you ever get to work together with them because you're like, hey, remember when we did that?
It's awesome.
Working, it makes being an actor just the greatest job on the planet, I think. And that's why, working's great, but what goes hand in hand with working is the not working because you spend more time not working than you do working. When you are working, it really makes up for it. Have so much fun. Working is really the reward. The work are the auditions. And then once you get the job, it's just like, woo.
As I scan your IMDb, you've been in like everything, all my favorite shows, Dexter, Cheers, Seinfeld. I actually rewatched your Seinfeld yesterday.
Yeah, so I just ran into Jason Alexander last night. Like, that's so funny. Yeah, Beverly Hills 90210. Ellen, when she had her series, I actually, on the show, married Ellen's brother on the show. So our whole episode was, kind of the wedding. Oh my God. It was so much fun because everybody was there. Kind of every day, the whole cast was there. And it was, festive. It was a wedding. And, Ellen's doing the speech at the wedding and completely improvising and just had us in tears. So it just kind of felt like we spent all week at a wedding. What's better than that? Like with the funniest people on TV and, Columbo. I mean, my God, that's just an institution to work with Peter Fall. So yeah, that was a great Wonder Years. You want like kind of behind the scenes stories. Wonder Years, when I did Wonder Years, I played Miss Farmer. I was the social studies teacher who always wore, short shorts and hot pants and really short skirts and really high platform shoes. But just innocent as can be. And I hire Kevin to paint my house. And so, of course, he's got this huge crush on Teacher. And he comes over to the house and, I'm sunbathing in the backyard. And he's just like, it's the greatest episode. But while we were shooting, it was actually Fred Savage's birthday. And so within the episode, Kevin has this fantasy scene where he comes to Miss Farmer's house and knocks on the door. And I open the door like in this dream state. And I have on like this red gown, and he picks me up and carries me over to the table and with his arm, wipes all the paint cans and paint paraphernalia off the table and lays me down on the table and starts kissing me. And so, it's this fantasy that Kevin's having. You shoot it 1,000 times. And so on one of the takes, the director says, he goes, I don't know if you know it, but it's Fred's birthday today. So he said, I'm not going to call cut. So he said, is that okay with you? Like if you just make out with him for a while, do you mind? Like that's our birthday gift to Fred. And I'm like, oh my God, that would be hilarious. And so we go and we do a take the scene and he lays me down and, we just kind of start making out and just like keep going and going because like nobody ever calls cut. And finally Fred stops and looks around and he's like, is anybody gonna? And then everybody just starts like clapping and going, happy birthday. And they sing happy birthday to him. It was so neat when we did that. And then a couple of years later, when Jay Leno was hosting The Tonight Show, they were doing a segment about how, he's like, I've been doing the show since I was a kid. And so they had Fred Savage there. So there's Jay Leno was doing a flashback of how he'd done The Tonight Show since he was a kid. And so they have Fred Savage playing Jay Leno as a kid doing The Tonight Show. And I happened to be there that night because I think, Duran Duran was on as a guest. And one of my really close friends is really close friends with them. And so she's like, oh, do you want to go to the taping for The Tonight Show? Because, we can go backstage with Duran Duran. I'm like, yeah, sure, that'd be cool. So we were sitting like in the front row. And so during the taping of that, when Fred is on stage at The Tonight Show, playing Jay Leno, he sees me in the front row and he's like, Miss Farmer.
That's amazing.
Me a hug. Like that was like the high point. And it was like years later that he like saw me and like recognized me and came down off stage and hugged me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to run into him again sometime. I loved him. He was such a blast. What else? What else did I do that are kind of those iconic?
Glee, Home Improvement. You said Beverly Hills. You talked about Nip Tuck, The Dark Shadows.
Did Drew Carey. But when I'd gone into audition, I'd auditioned for, there was an episode of Drew Carey. I can't remember what it was. I go into audition for a character. And afterwards, casting goes, could you just wait outside a minute? And she came in and talked to me and she said, the next episode, we'd actually like to book you, not for this, but for the next episode, because it was the big Mother's Day episode. And so every character had, their quote unquote mother, their character's mother on the show. And they were doing this kind of joke within a joke that Krista, I can't remember what her character's name was. Her character's father has a new wife. And so the new wife looked exactly like Krista's character. And so they have these things and they put me because she has like this short, dark hair. But we're kind of built the same and have like the same features. And so as soon as they put me in this short, dark wig, I'm like, oh my God, like I do look like her. And they have my character like show up to come and see her. And we're always like dressing alike. So I'm like her new stepmom, but it's really creepy because I look like her and kind of have like the same mannerisms. And it's hilarious because, the guys are always commenting on it and they're just like, your stepmom or, she does something. And then I kind of come in and do almost the exact same thing. And they're just like, this is so creepy. But it was the greatest episode because the other mothers were Marion Ross, Phyllis Diller, Adrienne Barbeau, and the funny thing is Richard Chamberlain dressed up in drag to play, what's his name? The British guy who was on the show. No, the Scottish
Ferguson?
guy. Yeah, Craig Ferguson. He was like in drag as Craig Ferguson. It was hilarious. And then another like small world thing. I grew up in Nebraska and in my French class, like when I was in high school, so what am I, 15, 16 years old, we had watched the Count of Monte Cristo because we were watching kind of, these movies that take place in France. So we're watching the Count of Monte Cristo and Richard Chamberlain is the Count of Monte Cristo, just this young, handsome, dashing. And, my 15-year-old self is like, oh my God. You cut to 30 years later, I'm like working with him. I'm on set and I'm like, you're not going to believe this, but in Omaha, Nebraska, when I was 15 years old, we were watching the Count of Monte Cristo and I just fell in love with you then. I took a bunch of pictures with him. Like he was just a riot. I don't know. There's kind of somebody that usually on a show that you kind of, I can't say bond with, but I don't know. I just got such a kick out of him. And he was so great in the role, dressed up. But he played a woman. He didn't play a man in drag. Like that's what Craig Ferguson's mom looked like. And I was trying to think who else it was, but it was just the greatest episode to be on because like not only were you on Drew Carey and working with those guys who are like comedy genius, but then I was part of like the moms of TV history and Richard Chamberlain. So that's was awesome. Like one of the coolest things about the Drew Carey show. So that was neat. What else? Cheers. Here's a funny story about Cheers, but it wasn't really about when we were shooting. When I was auditioning for Cheers, because I have like, these scenes with Sam and my boyfriend at the time, I'm like, hey, will you read these scenes with me? And he's reading it and he's like, is this supposed to be funny? And I'm like, yeah, it's Cheers. He's like, yeah, I'm really surprised. Oh no, he didn't know it was Cheers. He's like, yeah, I'm really surprised because he's like, this isn't really funny. And I go, it's Cheers. And he goes, oh, this is Sam. He's like, wait, oh my God. Okay. And then we read it again. And now that he knew who he was playing, he's like, oh my God, this is hilarious. And so it was one of those kind of familiarity things that, on paper, it's just like a scene. But as soon as you go, oh, this is Sam. This is Ted Danson. Okay. Yes, this is totally Sam Malone. I get it now. Yeah, it's one of those things that's like on paper or in real life. So that was really fun to work on. I mean, God, how could that not be fun? It was so easy because for a sitcom, you're there Monday through Friday. Like Monday, you just do like the read through and then you go home. And then Tuesday you go and you kind of, will walk through stuff on set and kind of work through the dialogue and everything because they're constantly rewriting. So then you show up on Wednesday and now it's been rewritten a lot. And then, this is kind of the blocking. And then Thursday, it's like, all right, this is really blocking. And then Friday, you do a dress rehearsal. And then Friday night, you shoot it live. It's very much like being in a play. It's like you're doing a play for a week because you're there doing it over and over and over with the writers and the actors and stuff. So the first day on Cheers, like you read it, you go home. It's like, yay, 10:30 in the morning, I'm done for the day. Then show up on Tuesday. We ran through it once. And then it was like, all right, we're done for the day. And I'm like, well, that was really quick. They just knew it in their bones. So then Wednesday, a couple of changes here or there, ran through it maybe twice. All right, you can go home. I'm just like, this is, it's like, God, we're not really working on it, kind of quote unquote. I'm like, we're just kind of like doing it and they're letting us leave. And then it was, they're so professionals and those guys had done it so many times that even in the dress rehearsal, it was just still kind of like a walkthrough. But oh my God, cameras are rolling, audience is there. Now is the taping. It's like this explosion. And like the show just comes to life. And you're like, oh my God, okay, yeah. Okay, this is Cheers. But it was like, they don't need to do it 110% 5 days in a row. Like they really just saved it for when you're taping it. And it was like, oh, okay, yeah, this is the show. Because it just seemed like, this is way too easy. Like they just keep letting us go home. Shouldn't we be working harder? But it's like, you didn't need to.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So that was, what else? I'm trying to think what else was fun that people, CSI. Yeah. Then I went through all the letter shows, CSI New York, NCIS. If it had letters in it, I was doing it. Criminal Minds, Glee. And then once I was up in Vancouver, then I started doing a slew of Hallmark. They shoot Hallmark up there. I get recognized a lot. Like we're just like at a Dodger game. My husband's an actor and he was on a soap opera. So a lot of people know who he is. So I'm used to people knowing him all the time. I was like, hey, those ladies, because I can tell by the way somebody looks at him. I'm like, oh, those ladies know who you are. And he'll always go and say hi or take a picture, whatever. And so we were at a Dodger game and, these ladies behind us kept yelling down, hi, hello, hi. So like we turn around and wave. And I just think they're like, waving at him. And so he's like, hi. But they kept pointing at me. And he's like, no, they're pointing at you. I'm like, they're not pointing at me. They're pointing at you. He goes, they're pointing at you. So he turned around again. And my husband goes to the ladies. They go, you're pointing at her, right? They're like, yes, she's on all the Hallmark movies. Oh my God, we love her. We can't believe that we're right behind you at the Dodger game. So I was like, oh, so yeah, a lot of people watch Hallmark. Or it's like, I'll just be somewhere and I start talking. People are like, I know your voice. Like, what do I know you from? It's usually in the most recent, kind of chunk of time. It's always some Hallmark thing because, I've done like 12 of them. They're rerunning at some point every month or on there.
Always Christmas somewhere.
What's really cool and it's still on Netflix. Fabulous movie that I did called Love Hard. It's a Christmas movie, but it's not about Christmas. It's really like a love story. It's just set at Christmas. But the name Love Hard comes from because the two leads in the movie have this conversation about his favorite Christmas movie is Love Actually, and her favorite Christmas movie is Die Hard. And he's always like, Die Hard's not a Christmas movie. And she's like, Love Actually isn't a Christmas movie. It's because their characters always talk about it not being a Christmas movie. Ours is kind of the same. It's like their love story, but it's not really a Christmas movie, but it all takes place at Christmas. So it's called Love Hard.
I love that. That is awesome. And Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Continue.
It's so funny because it kind of starts out like you go, oh, it's just going to be like a rom-com. It's Nina Dobrev and Jimmy O. Yang. They're both so good. And Jimmy just, I don't know if you've ever watched any of his comedy. He's a stand-up
he's really
too.
Funny. Silicon Valley.
Yeah. And he's on a ton of shows. I play his stepmom. He and Harry Shum Jr. are brothers, and I'm the stepmom. She ends up coming to New York for our house at Christmas. And it's just that kind of, the movie kind of starts one way where you're like, oh, this is just going to be another rom-com. But then it just twists and turns. It is so funny. I mean, everybody who sees it is like, that is so different than what I thought it was going to be. And much like the Fantastic Four, like it's really sweet. I still get choked up every time I watch it. I'm like, is it just me? Because like I'm the mom and they're my kids. Like, why does this movie always make me cry? But I think like Jimmy is so good. He's such an empathetic character. You just really fall in love with him. And it's love hard. I really, I'm not one like to toot my own horn and say, you've got to watch this. It's really good. But it's really good. If you haven't seen it, and you don't have to wait until Christmas, because I think you can still get it. I think it's on that. I mean, I know it's on Netflix. And I think it is just on all the time. It's not
it
just
never
Christmas.
hurts to have a little Christmas spirit any time of the year.
There's not that many St. Patrick's Day movies. And so just watch a Christmas movie instead.
Well, Leprechaun. No, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Becca, thank you so much for hanging out with me and sharing all these stories. You're amazing.
It's fun. Well, thank you for contacting me. And God, I could sit and tell stories all day. I'm a bit of a chatterbox. Yeah, it's nice that Fantastic Four is still bringing people together. I'm glad that it brought us together, and I'm glad that you called, and we'll follow up. There'll be more things to talk about by the end of the year, I hope.
Absolutely. We'll have you back. Do you hang out online, Instagram, or where do your fans keep up with you on the socials?
Well, Facebook, I'm Rebecca Staab. Twitter, I'm Rebecca Staab1. And on Instagram, Rebecca Staab.
There you go. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. How amazing was Rebecca Staab? Don't you think it's time for Roger Corman's Fantastic Four movie to be released? I'm going to put a link to the change.org petition to release the Fantastic Four 1994 movie. Use the hashtag release Fantastic Four 94, the number 94. Everything else is spelled out. Anyway, how amazing was Rebecca Staab? So many great stories on Fantastic Four and Cheers and Drew Carey. So many great stories. Loved it. We got another Roger Corman Fantastic Four guest coming next week. I'm going to keep it a surprise for now, but definitely check it out. I'm going to put a link to a release the Fantastic Four, hashtag release Fantastic Four 94 t-shirt I made at my TeePublic store. Check that out. So much goodness. Thanks again to Rebecca Staab for sharing all those amazing stories. And thank you to all of you for coming back week after week. It means the world to me, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Classic Conversations. If you like what you heard, don't be shy and give us a follow on your favorite podcast app. Also, why not go ahead and tell all your friends about the show? You strike us as the kind of person that people listen to. Thanks in advance for spreading the word, and we'll catch you next time on Classic Conversations.